you remember your first protest?
Yeah, it was against the Iraq War in March of 2003.
That's wild.
Yeah.
My parents did not give a shit about anything in this world at all.
Wow.
They just were not. They weren't activists.
Yeah.
They weren't going to things. They were, look after your own.
Yeah.
Where were your parents? Where was that?
Potomac, Maryland.
Yeah, I mean that's
Yeah, I think most of those. I think everyone there was profiting from the Iraq War. Frankly, you were going to a protest with your parents?
No, but I was very like, I felt like that was like the first kind of radicalizing of me was the Iraq War.
Really?
Yeah, I remember being
I was
very,
too young
like,
to pay attention.
I was in high school and then college, and I remember like, I had pins and like very, like being very angry and like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That was the first time I had that sort of thing, But it was the age, you're like that's when it happens, when you have stuff like that happening and you feel like, what's going on?
Right.
This is fucking nuts.
right. I had just started college at UC Berkeley, so it's like we were going to protest whatever was happening anyway, and so it happened to be the Iraq War, and then Palestine became kind of a focal issue at that point as well, because it became like Middle Eastern centric politics, what was going on over there, and all the unrest in the Middle East, it all kind of traces back to the Israel-Palestine issue when you actually look at it. So yeah.
Do you remember those college protests? Like, were they intense or were?
Yeah, I mean, there was. I remember when the Iraq War broke out, spring of 2003. It was not like it right now, quite, but like there was. I remember I was in philosophy class, and we had an Israeli professor, and there was a kid who like in the middle of lecture, he got up. He's like, "Hey, there's going to be a protest. We're protesting the war down at Sproul Hall. I want you all to join." And then he sat down, and then the professor's like, well, sometimes it's good to just kind of look at things before we actually get out. And he was trying to like relax everybody. And then the guy just stood up. He's like, 10 of our fellow students just got arrested, so you should go out there and join them. And it was just like, that was like the most tense thing I saw, but yeah, there was people getting arrested. It wasn't violent, but it was confrontational.
It's a pretty good metaphor. Philosophy teacher.
Yeah. It's also wild that like, it's so funny now. You're like, all the same people that were for the Iraq War, who then now are like, that was bad, we shouldn't have done that, are now like for this. And you're like, we can't fucking trust you. All of the same exact people in 2003 were like, we gotta do it. Right. And then now you're like here being like, we gotta do it. And you've since then been like, we shouldn't have done that. We should have gotten out of there. What were we thinking? That was so silly of us. Shut the fuck up. It's so crazy. It makes you feel insane.
Right.
What's that? I think that the tweet is like, liberals are against every war except for the one happening right now.
Right. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. That's good. Yeah.
I don't know. I look back and I was uneducated about a lot of politics, and I go, well, it's because I was, studying musical theater. I was truly like, I was researching, but it was all, different Sondheim things. Yeah. Right. And I didn't find out. I just can remember, I had that I'm with her sticker on my laptop for
I remember that. We were doing sketch comedy and you had that.
Don't act like you weren't as public with your radical.
I got
views.
I know when I was radicalized. There was like an album, 2016. The artist Anoni did a great album, and it was all about the drone bomb. Drone, like it was all, it's like this beautiful kind of dance record, but like thing. Yeah. And I had like, it was like listening to it and like, I was like, wait, what? And then like, I felt like all of a sudden I was like, my eyes were open and it was very silly. It was not the news. It was like, I listened to this album I really liked, and it was like the first song on it is called Drone Bomb Me. And I was like, wait, what's going on? And then I read and then I was like reading all these things about it. I was like, this is crazy. And that's when it happened. And then I like really turned it. It really like shut something off and on inside of me, where I was like, oh fuck, this whole thing is fucked. I mean, and it has been for our entire thing.
Can you imagine fucking Taylor Swift would fucking do one goddamn song called Drone?
Anyways, this is Drone Bomb Me. It's a beautiful song.
You're listening to The Downside.
The Downside.
With Gianmarco Soresi.